Top of the morning, everyone. My name is Tshidi and I'm back with another video. And today's video is top 10 frequently asked questions in every interview. I can guarantee you that after this video, you would have been asked at least 50% of these questions in all the interviews that you guys have gone through. And today's video is to try and address that. So I'm going to give you a list of what I'm going to get into before the start of this video. Number one, tell me about yourself or take me through your resume. I'll take you through how to answer that. Number two, what are your strengths and weaknesses? Number three, we then talk about why did you leave your current or your previous employer? Number four is what do you know about our company or why do you want to work for our company? Number five, why should we hire you or why should we not hire you is another question that we tend to ask a lot. Number six, what are your salary expectations? Another question that a lot of people keep on struggling with, and it's understandable because you're talking about money. And then we talk to number seven, what was your biggest mistake you ever made? This one was submitted by one of the people that actually follow me on LinkedIn. Or have you ever failed at anything in your career? Number eight, what would your former co-workers or boss tell us about you? It's always very interesting to hear what people think people would say about them. Number nine, what's the biggest challenge you ever had to overcome? That's also a very nice, important question. And then number 10, do you have any questions for us? Now, these are the 10 top most important questions, or these questions are asked in every single job interview. So what you need to do is to try and actually practice and understand how you'd answer these questions when they come your way. I do have a bonus question though, by the way, which was submitted by Rob. And I'll actually address that question at the end. So stay up for the rest of this video so you can actually check out what that bonus question is. So now, why did I put this together? So what I've realized is a lot of the times we get the exact same questions from the different groups of people that interview us. And a lot of people seem to always never be prepared for how best to actually answer these questions. And what I decided to do was, let's put these things together into one video. And what I'll also do is I'll link some of the videos that I've already done in-depth discussions about these questions. So look out for some of those videos as they pop up. The first one, which is tell me about yourself or take us through your resume, which is number one. You can check out the video up here. Now that video, I'll go into a lot more in depth as to the reasons why people leave and why you'd actually want to tell people about you or what you want to tell people about in your resume or your career and what you've been looking for. Now, tell me about yourself is more an opportunity for you to actually share a bit about your career. Now, it's always very important that when it comes to this question, you follow a chronological order. You start from the time when you started your career up until the time where you are right now in your career. The reason why it's important that you do that is because the last part of your career, which is where you might already still be in that job, is the most critical because that's the one that they will spend a lot more time asking you questions about. Now, if you start from what you're currently doing and going backwards, by the time you actually get to when you started your career, some of the people have already forgotten what you said at the beginning of your job interview. So that's why it's important that you start from the beginning until the end. Now, it is also very, very important when it comes to this question, when somebody says, tell me about yourself, that you focus on a few elements. Number one is it's extremely important that areas that did not affect where you are at the moment or areas that are not necessarily linked to the job that you're interviewing for, you just sort of brush through them. You don't have to spend a lot of time on those, but you then spend a bit more time on areas where they are linked to the current job that you're doing at the moment. That is very, very important that you always remember that. It is also number two, very important that in take us through your resume, you also highlight some of the highlights of your career, some of the achievements that you've done. And the reason why you do that is because also, once again, you're owning narrative of your career, you're owning the narrative of where you want these guys to actually focus on and for them to actually ask you questions about that. That is why it's then important that you start chronologically, you start from the beginning, and then you get to the part where you are going towards the end. And in that, tell me about yourself. Here's a simple answer. I started my career in 1995, and then I decided to grow my career doing 1, 2, 3. And then 5 years ago, I moved into recruitment, and in the recruitment space, my focus was actually looking at executive search. And I did that for about 3 years. And in the executive search that I did, I was able to bring in majority of the CFOs for a listed company in the stock exchange, or I was also able to bring in a CEO from this company, and I was able to bring that. Now, that part is actually very, very nice because you're bringing in some of the highlights of your career and what you've done. That is fantastic for them to actually follow up on that. And that's why I'm always saying, always bring in or highlight some of the best things that you've already done or the achievements that you've got. Number 2, what are your strengths and what are your weaknesses? Your strengths and weaknesses questions reflect the requirements of the role. Okay, so it's not about just answering strengths and weaknesses. Now, that's why it's also very important that after you've applied, if you get called in for a job interview, get the job spec that you currently have or that they've actually used. Read through it again and then align your weaknesses and your strengths in line with that particular job spec. Don't just come about or strengths that have got nothing to do with that. Yes, I can run 100 meters. Yeah, that's a strength. So what? What value does it bring to this particular company? So that's why it's very important that you ensure you highlight your skills that are listed in the job description. Only, please remember, you should only highlight those skills if you actually have them. Okay? Do not highlight skills just because you saw them on the job spec and you want to bring them up as your strengths, only to find that you actually don't have that. Now, some of the strengths that you currently can highlight is your analytical skills. That's a very good strength to actually come up with. Your communication skills. And give examples every time you give these things. Don't just say my analytical skills are very strong, but you can't give an example of when you actually added value to that company based on your analytical skills. Your leadership skills, you need to bring those up because they need to see that there is some level of leadership in that, and that's a strength. Ability to work in a team. Also, once again, every single time you give an example or every single time you give a strength, you should always give an example of when that actually has ever happened. Do not just come up with all these things and you can't even give an example. Examples of weaknesses, we're talking about the hard skills, which are defined in the job description. Pick up on one thing that's specifically in the job description and use that as one of your weaknesses. Also, once again, I've got a video that I'll link up here, guys, that you can actually check out. I've got 2 videos that are short. One is focusing on your strengths and one is focusing on your weaknesses. So check out these 2 videos so that you can actually be able to really understand how best to bring that up. And here's the other thing that you guys need to remember when it comes to your weaknesses. Always showcase how you're working to fix some of those weaknesses. You never just come up with a weakness and then you just leave it there. Always showcase to say, you know, one of my weaknesses is public speaking, and what I've done is I've actually joined Toastmaster to try and build on that. Okay, so it's not just a nice thing to have when you actually discuss that. Now, I've got a list of some of the examples of strengths that you can have. I can also list some of the examples of weaknesses, but strengths are, as I mentioned, people skills, writing skills, analytical. Honesty is not really a skill that you can actually use because a lot of people say, I'm very honest, but they end up struggling to actually showcase that. Patience, writing skills, empathy, and some of these, like you can also go into the more technical skills that you already have. Now, the third question, why would you want to leave your current job? Also, once again, guaranteed this question will actually come up. If it doesn't come up, if you have 3 or 4 interviews, it doesn't matter how many interviews you got, you might even have this question in every single one of those interviews. Now, I've also once again done a video, which I'll link up here, guys. The video focuses on why certain people leave their current jobs. And here's the thing. For example, number 1, your values and the company's values are no longer aligned. Fantastic. Give examples of when those were not aligned. Number 2, additional compensation. I've gone a bit more into in-depth details as to what you talk about when it comes to additional compensation, you know, why you actually need a bit more. The company you worked for went out of business. That's easier one because you can just say, listen, the company went into liquidation or whatever it is. Hence, I'm actually here back in the market. And then some of the other things is you're looking for a new challenge. Once again, Do not just come up with these things without giving examples of what those mean. If you're looking for a new challenge, look at the job description, highlight what's on the job description that actually you think will give you the challenge that you're looking for. Don't just say, I'm looking for a challenge. What is it in the job description that you've picked up that will actually give you the challenge that you're looking for? Number 4, what do you know about our company, or why do you want to work for our company? It's extremely a very nice question, because you get an opportunity now to sell your skills. You get to now, if you're fully prepared for this one, it's the first step in making sure that you showcase to these guys what you know about that company. And that's one of those things where you actually have the opportunity to be able to now shine. Now, the best way that you can actually answer this is to do a few things. Number 1, talk to people. Talk to people that work there. If you have a friend that works there, talk to them, ask them questions about that, because it's always nice when you're able to say, listen, I've got a friend that works here and I spoke to them about this role and they told me this about the company. Number 2, visit the company website. Go to the company website. Look at their values. What is it about their values that actually aligns to you? Why would you want to work for a company that's got those kind of values? Number 3, check out their social media. LinkedIn is the source of so much information. A lot of companies now put their press releases on LinkedIn. They share information about the company successes, financial status. Look at those. Check out their products and services. If they're actually a company that sells the products, if they sell biscuits, go check them out. If you can speak about the biscuits and how much they mean to you, fantastic. Google a bit more information about them, their financial news, their financial statements, news releases, and every single thing. Because if somebody asks you why you want to work for that company, it is fantastic to be able to now highlight some of those things that you've already picked up in your research. That is why research is extremely important about the company. Number 5, why should we hire you, or why should we not hire you? At a glance, it seems simple enough. It's like, oh, okay, no, that's a simple question. I can answer that. It seems simple. And for a lot of people, we tend to talk about my strengths, my strengths, my strengths. Fantastic. That is awesome to actually do that. However, the question about why should we hire you, or why should we not hire you, the best way to actually be able to answer that is also, once again, look at what the job spec is saying. What is it that you bring to the table that fixes some of the issues that have been highlighted in the job spec? Not just, it's a question about job spec. What is it that you actually bring to the table that fixes some of those issues that what is the company going to benefit from if they bring you on board? So that's one of those things that we need to look at. Now, the company is, do you fit into the culture? Do you fit into what the company is looking for? I'm going to read out a statement here that I saw online when I was actually doing a bit of research about this one. It says, after doing research on your company, I'm even more excited about the chance to work here. I know I can do a great job for you. You're looking for somebody who can manage bookkeeping system, or you're looking for somebody that's going to do system integration. Now, well, I'm not only able to actually do that. In my previous company, what I did was I was able to bring in XYZ, which actually saved the company X. It saved the company 15 million or 15,000 or whatever. Or I was able to bring in some systems into live that were able to save on our compliance issues, this and that. So do you understand? Why should we hire you? You're not just jumping into, oh no, I'm good. It's about saying, I know this is what you're actually looking for, but this is what I will do for your company that will benefit you guys. I hope that makes sense. Number 6, what are your salary expectations? One of the most difficult questions anybody can ever ask you, mainly because of 2 things. Number 1, you don't know anything about what that company offers unless you've worked there before. Number 2, the benefits are some of the things that people tend to forget about when it comes to salary expectations. So what I always say about this one is there's 2 things that you can look at. The first thing that you need to always remember is when it comes to salary expectation is that never give an exact number. Never come and say, I want 200,000 or I want 400,000 or I want this. Give a range with the understanding that if they give you anything in between that range, then you're sorted. And be willing to walk away if, for example, you've given a range and then they go far below that range, it's okay to walk away and say, guys, based on where I'm at right now financially, I do think the offer is not necessarily meeting my financial expectations because of X, Y, Z. So here's the things that you can actually do before you answer that question, before you go for that job interview. Number one, research the salary for the positions, okay? Ask people, like you can ask people, they won't give you exact salaries because they don't want you to know how much they're earning, but ask people to say, how much do you think a role like this then pays? Number two, factor in your expenses. Now, some of the people work for banks, and the nice thing about banks is that they give you lower home loans, they give you this, different rates. Include that in. Some of the companies pay for your internet. Some of the companies pay for your transportation. Some of the companies pay for your car. Include those in your calculations when you give a number, because if somebody asks you to say, where did you get that number? You can say, based on where I'm at, this is what I need to actually include. And if I don't have these things, I don't think I'll be able to come and join you. The other thing that's extremely important that people forget is your leave days, guys. Your leave days is actually financial. It's money related. You need to always factor that in to check to say, based on this one's got 25 days, this one's got 10 days. I need you guys to compensate me for the extra days that I'll be losing. The other thing that you need to look at is choose a salary range, as I mentioned earlier. Number four, vet the question if you can, avoid giving an exact number, and then be open about some of the compensation options that might be there. What is also very, very important is the other way in which you can vet this question is by always saying, unfortunately, I do not know how much your current company pays for things like leave and this and that, or I don't know enough about your benefits. However, if you could share that, I could be able to actually give you a bit more of an accurate assumption of what my salary expectations will be. Number 7, what was the biggest mistake you ever made, and have you ever failed at anything? This one was submitted by one of the ladies that I asked the question to say, what are some of the difficult questions that you've ever had? The reason why this question is very, very tricky is that a lot of people tend to say, no, I haven't failed at anything. And what people forget is that failure is a sign of learning. And if you haven't failed, then you haven't really pushed yourself, and you haven't really pushed the boundaries, and you haven't really done what can be done to actually learn as much as you can within the specialization that you're in. Every single person that's done anything that's ever worked for at least more than a week or whatever would have failed at one thing or another. So what I do want people to remember with this one is that number one is the explanation is, it's number one, what is it that you think you failed at? And think about these things that you failed at. You could have failed at being able to properly put together a proposal. What did you learn about that? What went wrong, and why did you feel that you failed at that? Number one is, you could say, I didn't actually ask enough probing questions to understand what the manager was looking for. That's a sign of failure. And going forward, what I've now done is, before I actually jump into answering certain things, I ask a few more questions to try and understand if I'm actually going the right direction. That is a beautiful way of just making sure that people understand what you're actually able to do from a failure point of view. The next question is, what would your former co-workers or boss tell us about yourself? Now, 90% of the people say they'll tell you, I'm a nice person. Cool, that's fantastic. What about the other sides of you that people don't like? If you and I have been working together on something and I keep on feeling like there's a deliberate thing, I can be a very firm leader. Okay, so that's what they will tell you. They'll tell you that, yes, no, I'm very nice, easygoing, but there's certain times where I need to put my foot down and say, unfortunately, this doesn't work. So, and it's not necessarily saying that I'm a nasty or a horrible person, but it's something that I know they'll bring up to your attention if something like that comes up. So it's not about trying to always paint yourself as a nice person in that kind of a question. It's about being able to highlight what is it that you've learned about your personality that you can actually work on, and especially when it comes to certain things that might be a blind spot. So that is very important. Please do not jump into a question and then say, no, they'll say I'm a nice person. There are certain things that people do not like about you, or that people would actually highlight to say, listen, this person is this or this person is that. Bring those up. And that's why you need to, before your job interviews, think about these things, put them down and think about what they say. What's the biggest challenge that you ever overcome? You know, if possible, on the same story as the previous one, you need to make sure that, number one, you're able to think about some of the biggest challenges that you've had. And it's also very, very important in this sense that, number one, is from a legal point of view and from certain aspects, you do not overshare certain things that could actually bring in the company into disrepute or some of the things that are not in the necessarily public domain. But challenges do happen. And the best thing about challenges is they also show the people that are interviewing you your thought process of how you got into dealing with some of those challenges. And that also answers questions about, can this person deal with ambiguity? Okay? And people sometimes say, no, I haven't had any challenges that I haven't dealt with or that I haven't struggled with. Now, that question is a multi-layered question. They want to check, can you deal with the uncertain environments? Can you deal with where there's no full structure? Can you deal with these things? And you need to bring some of those challenges forward so that people can actually learn how you deal with specifically the challenges. The 10th question, which I also did a video about just recently, is, do you have any questions for us? Now, this is very, very important because a lot of people forget that you're also interviewing the company. You're not just there for the heck of it. You're not just there for fun. You're also there to interview the company. This is a chance for you to actually make sure that you understand what is it about this company that would make you to still want to come and stay there. Now, in the video that I've done that I've linked here, guys, in that video, I focus on top 10 questions that you can ask at the end of every interview. I'll list like 3 of them. Number 1 is, in order for this person to succeed in his roles, what are the top 2 things that the individual needs to be able to know? Number 2 is, how's this role aligned to company strategy? Do you understand that it gives you a bit more insights into this particular company? The last question, which is the bonus question. Thank you so much, Rob, for this particular question, is, what is the biggest risk for us to recruit you? Now, this one is also very tricky because for a lot of people, they keep on saying, gee, man, you want me to take myself out of the job interview? No. There's no risk at all. No, there is a risk. One of the biggest things about the risks of somebody actually recruiting you is the fact that, number 1 is you question things. Like, this is what I will do. I'm one of those people that I always say, if you're looking for somebody that's going to say, yes, ma'am, yes, sir, okay, let's go ahead, let's do it all the time. Even if I think there's a better solution, I'm definitely not the right person. So you hiring me is going to make it's going to give you a headache because I'm that person that's going to ask first. If I feel there's a better way of doing things, I'm going to ask you. The second thing is, I'm very strong at being able to analyze things, and I always want to try and find quicker ways of doing things, quicker ways that are efficient, that will actually add value to the company. If you're going to tell me that this company has been doing things for the last 20 years this way, once again, I'm also not the right person for your company. So do you understand? The question that says, what are the risks of us employing you? You could also highlight some of these things. So it's not a question where you're taking yourself out of a job interview. It is a question where you're showing people some of the strengths, for example, that could benefit the company, or some of the things that will actually be a pain for those individuals. Thank you once again for actually watching this video all the way till the end. And once again, Top of the Morning with Tshidi.